It's Rob here, and guess what? Your kits have started to ship. It's all pretty much in the system and it's on its way to you. I want to go over a few things that are really important so you know how to use Bondic correctly, and I'll go over some principles and understand it. So in the kit that you ordered, you've got your bonus, you've got the shaping tool, you've got the extra refill, and you've got the EVO, some sticker for your laptop or your window or whatever, and some basic instructions. So what's important is to understand that it's not a glue, and I'm going to use my hands to make that explanation. When you have a glue, you generally have two pieces that fit together, and with time and pressure you have a cure, and that's how glue works. Bondic is to be used when you don't have that part. When it's gone, it's broken, it's fractured, it's missing, it's in 1,000 pieces, and you can't glue the thing together because you don't have it. That's where you're going to use Bondic. You're going to make that part to work. Second principle is that when Bondic is on a smooth surface, you can generally knock it off. So the reason for the shaping tool and the reason for the different grits and surfaces is so you can create an area that's got grip to it, so the liquid can go into those cracks and grooves and crevices and then actually create more surface area. So this has got one set of surface area, but now if you add all this up, you've got 5 or 10 times more surface area, and then it grips. So don't use Bondic to make a carabiner hook and go climb Mount Everest. That's not gonna work. It's plastic. But let me go over some quick principles, and I'll do something that's a fail and I'll explain it so that you understand, and hopefully you can prevent the mistakes and the frustration, because it's a new concept. Your brain, just like everybody else, just like it was for us, wants to use it like a glue. It wants to grab it and stick something together. So if you're putting Bondic on an item and you're putting it in a hole in a crevice or whatever, and the light can't get to it, so this UV light cannot get inside that hole, Bondic won't cure. At the same time, for those of you in California and Arizona and Texas and Florida where there's lots of sunshine and it's warm, not cold all the time, any kind of sunshine has the whole UV spectrum in it, and that will cure it. So if you get Bondic in the tip, then you can generally pull it out with your nail. Now, we get a lot of questions, and I don't know what it is, but this cap is just pull off. Okay, not twist, not turn, not unscrew anything else. You just, there's a point where it snaps in and it just pops off like that, and then it's ready to go. This is the UV LED. So I'll do a couple fixes, and I'll do something that works and that doesn't work, and we'll go from there. I'll take out the shaping tool. I like this because it allows me to cure bigger areas, and what I don't want you to do is wave stuff around. This doesn't help, right? This doesn't help. Just get close and make sure that that UV light gets all of your Bondic, and whatever Bondic you want to reach, you want to get 4 seconds of light on it. Why 4 seconds? Because 3 is too short, doesn't let it cure. More time doesn't really make a giant difference. It's the power of the battery. So if you start to have a problem where it's not curing, or where it's really sticky afterwards, maybe it's time to swap batteries out on one of your one of your UV LEDs, because it's the kick over. You want to get the UV light on for it to kick over and become plastic. The principle is that any kind of plastic, you know, anything that's in your life, whether it's your key, the camera, the doorbell, anything that you work with at your desk, etc., is plastic. Plastic is essentially a polymer, and it's an organized chain of monomers that have locked together. And Bondic is liquid monomers that are held apart with that fluid. And when the UV light hits the fluid, it allows the connection of the monomers to get organized, becoming a polymer, which is plastic. So I know that's a lot of information, but let's do some cool things here. So a basic principle is that with Bondic, I've got a drop of liquid plastic, and I can move that around. Now I could go, if I'm not in the sunlight, I could go and I could take a telephone call. I could come back in 10 minutes. This won't change. This tube that's in here has roughly 120, 150 drops based on the drop size, okay? And it won't dry out because it's UV solid and no light's getting in there. And that's another reason for the tin, so you can find it and keep it really away from all kinds of light. But it doesn't have a solvent, nothing to evaporate just by being open, so it stays in the liquid format. When it gets really old, you know, like past 2 years, it slowly starts to get a little bit darker because the chemical properties change in there, but everything generally behaves the same. Bondic isn't crystal clear for a specific reason. With all the tests we make, the science basically doesn't allow it to be perfectly clear and have adhesion. The more clear it is, the less adhesion the product has. So there's a balance to keep it somewhat clear. Now, in any other type of glue, generally that would have started to cure here, and this is still completely liquid. When I'm ready, I get as close as possible, and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that's basically hard plastic now. Okay? So if you're going to connect two things, it's important to understand that you want the liquid to be in between them. So now I'll put it on this spot here. See if I can do it like this somehow. I want to get the other side also wet, and if I can get the light in there, that's how it's going to cure. So 1, 2, 3, 4, but I'm going to go from the other side now to make sure it's everywhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, because I wasn't sure the light can get all the way through there. And that's what's unique about Bondic. So you can go from underneath here too if it's still a bit wet, right? So 4 seconds and something's connected. Now, this isn't particularly the most strong thing because I've just got the Bondic adhering on a flat surface. If I wanted to make it stronger, I would want to put Bondic on the front and overlap the Bondic and go to the back. So I'll do the front first, bit on the sides. Now I'm going to make it stronger than before. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I can add a little more or a little bit more light. I'm going to a different spot. If I got a lot of Bondic, I want to hit it twice. Turn this over here, and now I'll bring it and overlap here. So now I've got Bondic connecting Bondic. I'm trying to make it engineering-wise stronger, more than it was before. So there's an old saying basically, if you would fall and break your bone right here, when your bone heals back, when it connects, it's actually thicker in that spot where the connection was. And that's the principle I want you to think about with Bondic. I don't want you to connect two things together and expect that one little drop of Bondic is going to do the trick. There's all kinds of super glues and crazy glues and those products out there that are fantastic at that. But this is different. Bondic is liquid plastic. So I would want to make an overlap on both sides so that's stronger than before. And there's one of my very first videos with a friend who's a dentist. He basically did that test and was really impressed because he knows how to use the stuff because it comes from the dental industry. So that's the basic principle. You create the connection and you do it in 4 seconds. This is something that's cool. You've got a hole and you need to cure it or solve it or get a solution for it. Do you know what a meniscus is? That's like in a glass of water or a drink when you can go almost to the edge but it doesn't flow over. See how I'm holding the liquid Bondic? I'm controlling it like this, and it's left or right hand. And I just put a drop and move it around. And then when I'm ready, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now is a bit of a cavity in there. I'm going to add some more. I'm not trying to rhyme. I'm not a poet. But that's the way it is. So add a little bit more. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I can feel if that's pretty much flush. Now, if I sand this spot, it'll get darker. But if I just put a half a drop on something that I sanded, then I can make it clear again. And I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if I wanted to, I could take a Sharpie on that spot right away and basically cure or cover that up completely so you'd be almost invisible. If I have an orange tail marker light on a trailer on the car, I can do it in orange as well. If it's clear, I just leave it clear. So there's a good example there. Now, I'll do this corner for you. If I'm going to do something and I want a bit of adhesion, I want to basically rough up the area. Remember that principle I told you about? I just want to create extra surface contact area. And this is a bit more complicated, and I'll use the other LED, the Bondic Pro one. So just make it wet around here and just move it around. I'm not always adding. Sometimes I'm squeezing a little bit, sometimes I'm squeezing a lot. It's just a technique you can get used to. Go really close, 1, 2, 3, 4, or I can use this light here. That's the purpose of that. So notice how I can really flood that. I can see a little bit better. And I'll go and add a bit more. And I'm going to overbuild this area and I'm going to shape it back to the original shape. You see how much quicker that is? because I've got the 7 LEDs in there, right? Add a little bit more. I'm going to start to need glasses here so I can see this. So now I'm over filling it a little bit. Put this down. I'll go 1, 2, and this one's easier because I've got way more light. I can rotate this one a little bit just to make sure all the bulbs get to it, and I'm done. So that's the trick there. Now I can take the file and I can start to shape that. I could immediately take a Dremel and I could right away shape that down. So file that over here. I'm going to have to add a little bit more on this side and a little bit at the top. So I'm going to add a drop here just to make it a bit bigger. Turn on my light. 2, 3, 4, and then file it down. So this is a bit of a feeling technique. I'm not the best artistic person, but all I'm trying to do is I'm keeping the weight on the higher part, watching that there's a slight gap in here so I don't scratch the rest of it. I'm wearing it out. You can see that I'm taking off the Bondic there. So this is just plastic dust now. People say, oh, can you breathe it, whatever. Yeah, don't breathe it. It's plastic, it's dust. You don't want to breathe any kind of dust, so just move it away. And there we go. So, it's kind of cool, right? So you're using Bondic to create something that doesn't exist, something that's missing, that's gone, whatever. That's the main idea. So I look forward to your questions. Maybe we'll create an email called Bondic Bob, or I think we just got the customer service. If you got questions, email us. Don't get frustrated. We're here to support you, and we want you to become our biggest fans. If you're a skeptic, just remember the disclaimer is it's not a glue. Don't use it like a glue. That'll be the #1 thing I want you to ask yourself. Did I just use it like a glue? Then it's probably why the thing failed, because it's not a glue. That's why the website is called itsnotaglue.com. And let us know what you're doing. Please, if you do cool fixes, remember to take a before picture and an after picture. Post the stuff. We made a lot of effort to be having the fluid made since day one in America, and we do all the assembly now in Canada. So it's really important that we keep the jobs here. It's really important that we keep the product here, and we don't want to have stuff that's inferior. There's a way to make the stuff cheaper, but it's chemically dangerous. It's more dangerous to breathe. It's more dangerous to be around. Some of the cheap stuff stinks up a whole room. We've always avoided that. So I don't apologize for the price of the product, because it's the quality that we're concerned about, and that's why we're still #1 in the category, and we're #1 thanks to people like you. So I really appreciate you guys backing us, and the next video will be of the Pro. Oh, one more little thing. See what this is? This is basically glitter. So if you want to add color to Bondic, you got to remember something, that when you put in something that's darker, you're blocking the light. So for example, if I put in a dark chip, a dark piece of glitter, and there's liquid Bondic around here, a piece of that glitter will prevent the UV light from getting to the other side. So you really need the bigger light, and you're going to move it around. The reason we don't have color in Bondic is because I can never have the blue that you want. I can never have the brown that you want. I can never have the orange or the red that you want, because everybody has it different based on whatever product, whatever you've got out there. So it's much easier, much cheaper just to cure it and then take a Sharpie or take a touch-up paint or whatever and then match it the way you want right on top of it, and it's probably totally fine. So again, thanks a lot to you. We really, really appreciate it. Thanks for being patient. We worked really hard to get it out, and they're all on their way to you now. Take care.